Hello out there, and welcome to Your Next Mission video podcast. Mentorship has always been one of the keys to a smooth and successful transition from military service to civilian life. But it's a different world than it was when I was 15 years ago. Today we're going to talk about mentorship in the digital age. These days you have to stay connected, and our guest is going to tell us how to do that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Your Next Mission video podcast, where we tell the stories of those who have served in the past and those who are serving today. From transition to financial wellness, VA benefits to mental health, we cover issues facing veterans, active military, and their families. Now here's your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks to all of our veterans, service members, and their families for your service to our great country. Now, before we get started, I personally want to thank our presenting sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, whose members are the mission, and Purdue Global, where you can start your comeback with additional sponsorship from Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental and Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision and USAA. Together, they make your next mission happen. They love our veterans and families, and I say it every week, we love them too. Today we're going to talk about mentorship in the digital age, and I'm excited to introduce Evan Guzman, founder of MilBrand Project, a consulting agency that helps businesses connect with the military community, and former global head of talent acquisition and military connected programs for Verizon. Evan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad I got through that introduction there a little bit. I was a little stumbled through there, but you've been doing quite a bit of stuff. My goodness. Hey, look here. I want to talk to you about a bunch of stuff, especially the digital age. But before we do that, tell the audience just a little bit about yourself.
Well, I consider myself a veteran advocate. Always have been since I was a young boy. Since the first job I ever had, I've been supporting the military connected community. And so it just sort of continued on. So my background has been in talent acquisition. It's also been in helping veteran-owned businesses with their go-to-market. And I get to work on very unique special projects that are military connected as well. My background would go from helping veterans with employment, helping veterans figuring out the best educational pathways, and it also includes entrepreneurship.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
happy to be here, Sergeant Major. I'm really excited about this opportunity to kind of share a little bit more about mentorship and anything beyond that.
Well, we need people like you that help our veteran community and our families. So thank you. Just starting off right here with the show. Thank you for what you're doing, what you continue to do. Tell me about MilBrand Project. What do you do, and what are your goals?
Okay, so I started the MilBrand project after working about 7 years at Verizon. I realized there was an opportunity in the market for businesses who wanted to engage with the military connected community. So the MilBrand project does three things. One, it helps organizations better engage with the military community from a hiring perspective, as well as in community engagement. The second thing I do is I help veteran-owned businesses, especially early stage of mentorship, and sort of being a devil's advocate to challenge to make sure that they're ready for the marketplace. And then I do some behind the scenes promotion and branding and resource connections for these military owned companies and products. And the third thing I do is I get to work on really unique special projects that are military connected, from real estate projects to entertainment projects, working with Broadway theater arts and other programs. So it's anything that's connected to military, it's a MilBrand project.
Oh, wow. Well, again, thanks a lot for what you do. Hey, Evan, in our prep call, you said, I'm going to quote you right here. You said, work hard to convince people who are transitioning out of the military to see the value in mentorship the way others see the value in mentorship. Why is that so difficult?
I think what's difficult about when people hear the word mentorship, they probably have an old definition of what they think that is. And the reason why this segment is so important is because mentorship in the digital age has changed. We have more resources available to us, but unfortunately, many people who are transitioning out of the military don't really see as mentorship as a resource in that early phase to sort of get the ball rolling. And
Yeah.
in my world, it's really about starting a conversation. So what we're trying to do is sort of redefine mentorship in the digital age, that it's more than just the word mentorship, it's a conversation to explore various opportunities related to employment, education, and entrepreneurship.
Yeah. When I think of me personally, when I think about mentorship, I really think about a coach. I think about don't have more than, I mean, you need to have more than one mentor. We can probably maybe talk about that later, but I always had two or three mentors that I'd reach out to and talk to about different kind of projects that I'm working on. And also mentors for me, I'd call them up and say, look, and now we're going to talk about the digital age, but now you just email them or text them or whatever. But I'd give them that information, say, hey, give me some advice, or can you give me some thoughts and ideas about what you think I should be doing at this particular project. So it's a little bit different. I know it's different now than what maybe for me about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So what is different, so much different now in the digital age in mentorship?
Well, I would say that every transitioning service member is encouraged to set up a LinkedIn profile,
Yeah.
right? So if you have that LinkedIn profile, it's not good enough just to have a profile, right? You have to be proactive with that profile to engage with others and connect. Through those connections, you can foster meaningful conversations as a result. For instance, Veterati, right? Great platform, been around for about 7 to 8 years. And unfortunately, due to some hard decisions, it had to shut its doors. But the good news is it left a lasting impression because many people who have leveraged mentorship as a gateway for sparking opportunities that they never heard about, because many of these conversations people were having on Veterati were leading to referrals. And that's the difference, where it's great to have a great following, but if you don't have that human to human connectivity, you kind of lose out. So the good news is that even though Veterati is not around anymore, it had to shut its doors, there's a new rebuild coming. And I would love to share more as that continues. But we've got a community of veterans and veteran advocates coming together because they said, we saw the impact mentorship has made in the lives of transitioning service members. It's more than a conversation. It's literally networking in action. People are speaking to people that are in industries they want to get into, and they're sparking conversations and going into business together, which is really interesting. I could be a mentor speaking to someone, and I'm a veteran. I work with veteran-owned businesses, and I'm making referrals all the time. I'll be, hey, I just spoke to Sergeant Major Tilley. He's got this great background. I want to connect you with him and foster those conversations. So I think that's the difference. It's no longer walking into a job fair or live networking event. You can be just as effective leveraging the digital platforms that exist, but you have to take action. You have to follow up and really seek those conversations.
Yeah, you said a lot of really good things there, but one of them, I'm glad you brought it out, networking. I think that's really critical because that's what you're doing, you're networking. The other thing is connecting for me, because if anybody that knows me knows if you call me up and say, look, I need help with whatever the project is, I said, yeah, I know the right person. And what I'll do is I'll conference them in and I'll connect them right there so they'll get that conversation going. So, and then I'll sort of back off a little bit and say, if you need any help after that, let me know. But I think that's the key. The other thing is you can't get away from that interpersonal thing. Sometimes sitting down for lunch or talking face to face is really important. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, conversations keeps it alive, right?
Yeah.
You can apply to a job board and wait and hear back. And I hear a lot about during transition is that feeling of isolation. Where it's like, I'm not hearing back. It's really frustrating. And, that leads to a lot of things, anxiety, concerns about how am I going to support my family, frustrations. But having that conversation gives people more hope because they realize I'm not alone out there. I've got people that are looking out for me. And that gives, I believe that builds confidence in staying in it, because it's not going to be easy during your transition to find the next, job opportunity, especially if veteran transitioning service members feel that their skills may not be applicable in the civilian sector. Having these conversations change that a mindset to be more positive and more forward looking, and hope that this is only temporary. We're all going to be challenged with finding some type of work, but that this is temporary. And when you have these conversations are leading to referrals, resources, and more connectivity than ever before.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I tell a lot of people that are looking for jobs, take something, get your foot in the door, start working, and then try to work your way up within that organization if you can. Hey, I want to hear what you think is the hardest part of transition. But first, we got to take a business break here, and so don't go anywhere, okay? This is Your Next Mission video podcast with me, your host, Jack L. Tilley, 12th Sergeant of the Army. And if you're enjoying this discussion, I know that you are because we're talking about helping our veteran community. Please like us, click on that subscribe button below, and be sure to click on the bell to receive notifications of all of our upcoming video podcast releases. I'll be right back after a word from our presenting sponsors.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, proudly presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, the most trusted credit union owned by members of the military community, serving all branches of the armed forces and their families. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Their members are the mission. And Purdue Global. You're ready for a comeback, and with Purdue Global, you can do more than take classes. You can take charge of your story, of your career, of your life. Earn a degree you can be proud of and get an education employers respect. Start your comeback at purdueglobal.edu. Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're talking about mentorship in the digital age with Evan Guzman, the founder of MilBrand Project. Before we get back to our discussion, I'd like to take a few seconds to tell you about a program we're excited about called Your Next Mission VCS, a Veterans Community Support Program. We'll provide personalized one-on-one support to address the unique needs within our veteran community, facilitated through our many partnerships with other veteran service organizations. Please check us out at yournextmission.org/VCS and enroll to participate today. Remember, we want to help you with whatever issues you or your family are facing. So please, please, please reach out to us. Evan, before the break, we're talking about transitioning from the military to civilian life. What do you think, and I know you talked about just a second ago, is the hardest part of transition out of the military? What do you think is the hardest part?
Honestly, based on surveys and feedback we've gotten, the hardest part is knowing what you want to do next and figuring that out. But it's also identifying who you are as an individual. What are you good at? What are some of the things that really, kind of relate to your personality or skill type? So it's really about getting started and knowing where to begin. I find has been the hardest challenge for a lot.
Well, I think a lot of people, what they do too is you talked about it, they go back, they get frustrated, they sit down, they don't talk, they're not communicating. You just got to be very honest about, hey, look, I don't know if I'm the best at whatever this is, but I'm certainly willing to give it a shot and work through that, whatever the project is. So I think there's a lot of really good things that they could do. But veterans, never be afraid to take that step forward. Yesterday we had a great discussion. We talked about the circle of life there a little bit. And people sometimes are in one circle and they feel comfortable and they don't want to step out of that circle and move forward. And there's a lot of jobs out there for a lot of people. How important is attitude when it comes to transition? How important is that attitude?
I think attitude is what sets the tone to move forward, right? And it has to be a positive attitude in not being overconfident, but being confident in your abilities to adapt into new environments. And this is where I believe the military training kicks in, right? You don't know everything, but the one thing you're trained to do well is to overcome, adapt, improvise, and just keep moving forward. And I find that service members may forget that in the beginning, but then once you sort of remind them through conversations, they start to, you know what, I've been through some hard times, been there, done that. The civilian sector shouldn't be a scary place. It should just be a place where you're just trying to blend in now. because all the ribbons you wore and all of the, the things that told people where you were, where you've been, and what you've done now has to be presented on a piece of paper, which we all know as a resume, right? So as long as they feel confident, I always believe that every medal earned is a skill acquired, right? So if you can turn that into a bullet point on your resume, that's a start. But that's what keeps your confidence up, because I always believe that former military professionals, as I like to refer to them as, do have a competitive advantage in the marketplace in more ways than one. And I think having these conversations is a reminder to these service members that, you've been well trained, you've been well equipped. You just haven't deployed these skills in a civilian setting. But once you do, you're going to realize you might be running circles around others.
Well, I mean, you just pointed something out. I usually, when I go somewhere, I put all my ribbons and all my stuff on. You mean you're not supposed to have that stuff on?
Well, you could, or you can have a pocket square that says
Well,
where you've
no, I got you. I got you. Yeah, yeah. We've talked some about finding mentors in today's digital age. What does it look? What if you like? What if you like to be a mentor? You said in a prep call that anyone can be a mentor. I don't know if that's true or not, but do you think anybody could be a mentor? And how should they go about it?
Yeah, it's real simple. I think as long as we look at it from the perspective of sort of like a conversation, an informational, this sort of interview of sorts. When you say mentorship, many people may have a structured approach of what a mentor is, and really a mentor is just anyone that's open and willing to share their personal experience in how they got to where they are today. That's really what mentorship is supposed to be about, is learning from each other. Others may define mentorship as learning from someone with more experience, but we find that more mature or more experienced individuals still want to mentor with others younger than them, because they have some skills and things they don't know about that they want to hear about from others. So it really goes both ways. But I think the true value just comes in knowing what you want to do, what discussions you want to have with a mentor, because oftentimes it's the mentor talking and the mentee listening. And true mentorship is back and forth, right? It's supposed to be a question where, hey, Sergeant Major, I noticed you've had this great career in the military. What kept you in there? Why did you keep doing it? Some people just leave after 4 years. But tell me, why did you make a career out of it? And I'm asking that question because I just really want to get your thought process, right? And how you think, how you're able to kind of view the world through different lenses, because I want to sort of emulate someone like you, but in my present day, looking for work. So that's why I believe it's valuable. In conversations can lead to more than just walking away with some answers. You may have formed a great relationship with someone that now is going to look out for you to make sure you're gonna get to the next step. And if there's an opportunity through your influence, right, that you can open a door for me, then that mentorship conversation is now has steroids on it, right? Because now I'm going to be able to accelerate my plans and ambitions because you were able to help me get there. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, yeah. Well,
No, I'm good.
what I was gonna say is that is the reason I came in the Army. I've told a lot of people this. I was sitting on the beach drinking Olympia beer, and somebody said, "What are you going to do with your life?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "You want to go to college?" And I says, "Guys like me don't go to college." He says, "You want to join the military?" And I said, "Yeah." So I went basic. I didn't even know they was fighting the war. Basic AIT jump school straight to Vietnam. So I went from 18 to 55 in 1 year. The other thing I tell you about the military is I found my tribe. I found
Yeah.
people I really feel comfortable with and I enjoy being around, and I found a mission for my life and goals in my life to push me forward. One other thing before we take a short break here is I think the other really good thing about a mentor is be a good listener and a good communicator. And I think you really got to be a good listener and listen exactly to what that person is saying, and be able to read those nonverbal things. His reaction or her reaction about, how they feel or how they don't feel about specific things. And I think
Yeah.
that's certainly very important. And then I can't emphasize enough is always having a 2 to 3, I thought, or 3 to 5, whatever you feel comfortable with, but having 2 or 3. My best mentor is all the way through my military career is always my wife. my spouse was a really good mentor just to talk to. But I also had senior people, officers and non-commissioned officers that I thought were really good mentors and coaches for me for my military career. So,
Yeah.
Evan, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, because, so to answer your question more specifically, is that anyone who's willing to step up and have a conversation with someone who's just looking to find answers can be a mentor. Because at the end of the day, it's really about sharing your own personal experiences in how you got to where you are today, the challenges from within. And before you know it, when you're speaking to someone that's sort of following in your footsteps, so to speak, you want to give them the best advice. You want to help them avoid the pitfalls that they have gone through to really help that individual move forward. So it's the same thing even in combat training, right? If you know there's an area, hey, watch out for this area, you're sort of already starting that mentorship because you're leading based on your own experiences, and you're just letting the people behind you know, hey, here's a faster path for you. So that's really how I equate mentorship, in that anyone can be a mentor as long as they're just willing to put time into speaking with someone.
Yeah, the other thing I think really important about mentor, tell the truth. Be honest with that person that you're talking to. I mean,
Yeah.
if you may or may not be qualified, or this may not be the right job for you, but be very honest to the person that you're talking to, because I think
That's right.
people want that honesty. They don't want you to sort of say, yeah, you're looking good, where in fact you may not be looking good. So tell the truth.
That's right. Well, that's great, because the worst thing that can happen is wasting your time on something that may not, pan out. So true mentors will be upfront with you. They're going to tell you what you can do and what you probably think about doing, because without it, you're just going to keep going down this path with everyone is patting you on the back saying you're doing good, you're doing good. But at the end of the day, you're realizing I just wasted my whole time pursuing something I didn't even know I wasn't qualified for, right? So it's
Yeah.
really being upfront about it.
Yeah. I'm going to say one more thing before we take a break here. All the officers I ever worked for in the military, is I would tell them that my job is to make you successful. And if
That's
I
right.
didn't make you successful, then I feel like I failed. And I think it's the same way when you look at mentorship. If I make
That's
you
right.
successful, then I feel good about what I'm doing. I want you to be the best that you can be. And that's important. And you got to trust them. You got to believe in them. You just got to be very honest with them. We got one to take another break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Now, here's a word from two more of the organizations that make this show possible.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, brought to you in part by Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision.
Part of transitioning out is that dental and vision insurance breaks off from your medical insurance.
Vision and dental is very important to be able to enjoy your retirement.
Blue Cross Blue Shield makes the transition so much easier.
And USAA.
A promise is a trust not to be broken, whether spoken with an oath or sealed with a pinky. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community and their families. That's our mission, always.
Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're blessed to be here today with Evan Guzman, founder of the MilBrand Project. Remember, this is your show. We know there's so many issues that directly affect you, and we want to address each and every one of them. So please, as I said before, reach out to me. Tell me what topics you'd like to cover. You can call or text me at 844-424-1134, or send me an email at smatilley@yournextmission.org. And guess what? I'll reach back out to you. Evan, we've talked a lot about transition from the viewpoint of a person moving into the civilian life, but you also work with companies. Are they looking for job candidates who are looking to hire military background people? Is that correct?
Yes. Well, so I remember when the initiative started for veteran engagement back maybe over 12 years ago, where they were hiring veterans or trying to hire veterans because it was the right thing to do, right? But once companies became more familiar with the skill sets and the resiliency of former military professionals, they then started to realize, you know what, it's not just the right thing to do, it's actually great for our business to hire people that are mission driven, that know how to work in teams, but also solve independently, right? Because that's what training is. It's interesting because I think most who transition out of the military, somewhere in their heart and mind, they still want to serve in some way. So if you can put them in a career like when I was at Verizon, our attitude was we want to put veterans in the front lines of emerging technology, right? Put them in
Oh,
the front
wow.
lines, kind
Yeah.
of speak to that. And it really made a difference because they want to continue to serve. So I find that businesses are now looking for ways, and they've actually gone beyond that, Sergeant Major. They've gone from beyond the employment to what can we do as an organization to support great programs that really help to empower the military connected community to pursue their own dreams. The one thing I'm not a big fan of is when everything related to military just sounds like they're doing it from a charitable lens. When, my attitude is, I could see that, but the truth is, when you look at the military market, it's trillions of annual buying power that and businesses are now seeing that, but what they're seeing is the impact in the workplace. There's been many examples at Verizon where technicians who were former military professionals were out there getting the job done, solving problems. They had a van, they had tools. They would just go out there and kick butt, especially during inclement weather. I don't care if there's a winter storm out there. My Verizon cable better be running because I need to watch some shows, right? So we discovered that a lot of service members like these types of roles where they're troubleshooting, they're serving the community, and I think companies are now more aware of that, and they're very selective now that they want to put veterans in key roles that are leading a team, but also roll up their sleeves to get down and dirty. And at the end of the day, it's about meeting the mission. And I think if you give them that environment, they will thrive in it.
Well, usually I tell you, if you tell a veteran what the issue is and just let them go, and you may have to coach them a little bit, point them in the right direction, but they'll get the job done. But they want to show you they know what to do. And
That's right.
and they want to hustle and do the best they can. I bet you got countless examples of transitioning service member who you connected with a mentor. Can you share some of those results or some of those successes with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So many mentees that I connected with, I probably wasn't their first choice. But because of my background and what I do, it was a good first choice just to really understand what mentorship is, how to best leverage it for themselves. So I've connected many with, that are just aspiring to become an entrepreneur. And I would make referrals. Here's some great veteran mentors, right, that you can talk to who started a vodka company or who started a coffee company or you name it. There are military products out there that are pretty amazing. And a lot of these veterans get really curious to know what that product is, who can I talk to, and I make those connections. And there's been some great stories where mentees and mentors have started a business together, or they got hired
Yeah,
by them.
yeah.
Yeah, and really great stories. The other stories we love is when we refer someone to someone at a company, and then they get referred in and get hired. So there's been a lot of great stories like that. And why we encourage these conversations, because you just never know where it's going to take you. It's literally just a spark of your future, next steps. Oftentimes we kind of, and you mentioned something earlier that, and that I think it was complacency, when people get too comfortable and just kind of feel like, I had a Navy SEAL, 20-year, military experience, was in the Navy SEALs, transitioned out. He thought he had it planned. When he went to the private sector, he realized it's tough out there, and he had to find a mentor. And it was that mentor that helped him get on the right path, because you don't know what you don't know. But a mentor will kind of like tuck it in here. No, no, move this way. Or no, no, keep moving forward. Stay on that track. And that's really what they need. And then, like you said, they'll figure it out. But in the beginning, you need to give them orders. And sometimes those orders can come a little vague because they need to self-discover in many ways in the private sector. But I think a lot of times it's just building that level of trust that you're on the right path. Just keep going. You're going to get some bumps and bruises, but that's just part of the process. You just keep moving forward.
Yeah, well, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have issues. You're going to get frustrated. But it goes back to what we talked about before about having the right kind of an attitude and having a positive attitude and stay focused on what you're doing. So there's a, first of all, let me say this has been a great discussion. And
Yeah.
I want to thank you for what you're doing and what you continue to do. Any final thoughts, maybe something we didn't cover that you want to go back and reemphasize to the audience?
Yeah, as it relates to mentorship, don't overthink it. Just look for individuals that you find interesting. Maybe they're working in an industry you're interested in. Maybe they're working in your dream job. Don't be shy to reach out to them and say, "Hey, I love what you're doing. I would love to have a brief conversation with you about what you did to get there. I'm just trying to find my way too." And you'll be surprised how receptive people will be, because there are many out there who may not have served, but they're grateful, for your service, and will volunteer their time to speak with you for more than an hour. And sometimes that conversation continues. So all I say is, when you transition or before you select a mentor, know what you want to talk about, know what you want to do, have some questions ready, and don't let the mentor just keep talking. You want to make sure you're pulling out of them what you need to take advantage of that, the time you have with them.
Yeah, no, that's really important. Well, again, thank you for what you're doing, and I'm certainly sure you're making a tremendous difference. So I appreciate all that you're doing, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks again to Evan Guzman, the founder of MilBrand Project, for being with us today. I'm Jack Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, and you've been enjoying Your Next Mission video podcast. Thank you for joining us, and log on to our website at yournextmission.org and leave me a review. I always say, it's a good one, but we'll take whatever you'll give us. While you're there, you can visit our nonprofit and corporate partners who have jobs and services available that can assist you in your transition from the military. And check out our job board in partnership with Recruit Military, where you can search for a job that's just right for you. You can follow me on my social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Rumble. And if you enjoy what we're doing with Your Next Mission, please click on that subscribe button below. And don't forget to click on the bell too to receive notifications about all of our upcoming video podcasts. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Please leave me a message or send me a text at 844-424-1134, or send me an email at smatilley@yournextmission.org. Thanks again to Evan for being with us today. Had a lot of great information and is doing just a tremendous job for all of us. And when we was talking about mentorship, I was thinking to myself, I get so many emails and calls and texts from people that maybe I haven't seen for a while that just want to talk and talk about their future, or talk about maybe something that they're struggling in. And I said it on the show, be a good listener, be a good communicator, listen to those issues and try to coach and teach and help them with whatever you can. But one of the biggest thing about being a mentor or being a veteran is never think that you're alone. We're always with each other. Even if I haven't seen you in 20 years, you're still my brother or you're my sister. And I think a lot of you, and I want to help you just as much as I can. So again, reach out to somebody. Don't sit there by yourself. We'll help you and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. Thanks for watching. Thanks to New Mind Studios and of course, our sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision, and USAA. We appreciate all you do for our military. And as always, see you on the high ground. Hooah!
You've been listening to Your Next Mission, brought to you by the American Freedom Foundation. Learn more by visiting yournextmission.org.